Hey everybody, I'm TJ Majors. Part of the 6 Cup car this weekend, the 8 Xfinity car. Casey straight from the gym.
Well, we're hoping to eventually.
What's up, everybody? Brett Griffin, former spotter for Justin Haley. I was screaming at the TV yesterday like a drunken redneck rabid fan. I had a lot of fun, and I have one question, Freddie. Is your underwear dry yet?
My underwear is dry. My shoes probably are not. I don't know, TJ. I kind of got up in the spotter stand pretty early, and I had the. Normally, you know me, I like to show up about I don't know at the end of the anthem, but yesterday I had the idea that I needed to get up there early because it was raining its ass off, and I feel like if I got to the spotter stand early, I had enough time to sit there and dry out. So I sat underneath there for a while drying out, and I think I finally got about 97% dry when I got on the airplane last night. But yeah, what's up, spotter for Freddie Kraft, spotter for Bubba Wallace and Chandler Smith this weekend. And I got home really late and I'm tired. And I feel like we're back in 2020 when I'm looking at all your beautiful faces on a virtual call. But this is fun. What's up, Casey?
Hey guys, Casey Boat here, and while I'd like to say fresh from the gym, I'm hoping that if I put on workout clothes, I will eventually get there or burn calories. But I cannot say that I'm
Freddie, this is
fresh
you.
back.
This is
This is
me.
Freddie. See how you can only see half his face most of the time?
No, I can see all of Freddie's face. I
Oh,
don't know what your deal is.
maybe it's this house block, sorry.
Are you? What time did you start drinking this morning?
What does Dale have you on?
You and Dale getting the mimosas early today?
Anyways, anyways, it's been 60 years since a first timer won in the Cup Series, and SVG makes it happen. We finally got back after a very wet
Let's
weekend.
hear Brett butcher this guy's name for the first time today.
Yeah, I kind of want Brett to start first.
Yeah, Brett,
Well,
right now, what's his name?
the reason they call this guy SVG is because they can't pronounce his fucking name. So I was going to go with Shane van G on my side of town, but Gisbergen, is that how you say it? Van Gisbergen?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's probably the
Who
only
what?
time I'm gonna get it right the whole show. I've spent all morning
Well,
walking
Brett,
around here at the beach practicing.
based on some tweets I'm seeing this weekend, it sounds like there's a few other names people want to call you too. So glad you're back after the last few.
I saw that I was getting so much love on Twitter that I just celebrated all day yesterday. It was quite the weekend. What such a fun time to be on social media.
I don't think it was love. I
Oh.
got to be honest. I don't.
Yeah, I don't.
Well,
we,
Yeah.
you must have
anyways,
all the people I got. Unbelievable. You gotta
for
give me love.
the for
This is
When
those of
Brett
next
you
Griffin's
gen stuff.
trending on Twitter,
I trended twice. So our buddy Jeff Gluck texts me and he goes, "Hey, you're trending on Twitter." And I was like, "Well, that can't be good, can it?" And then a couple days later, he texts me again, "Hey, you're trending on Twitter again." I'm like, "Damn, trending on Twitter is hard to say actually." But no, it was a fun weekend, man. I enjoyed watching Chicago on television, and there's a lot of things I love about Chicago. I love Navy Pier, Wrigley Field, Lake Michigan. And honestly, NBC did a phenomenal job of showing just how pretty that part of the city is. And obviously, I've caught a lot of shit for talking a lot of shit. So here's my biggest struggle. And I think some of y'all with a brain will understand where I'm coming from.
here we go.
NASCAR signed a 3-year deal to go to Chicago. After they signed that 3-year deal, a new mayor got elected. That new mayor already has said that they don't know if they want us back anymore. So NASCAR is coming in there with teams, with NBC, and NASCAR is spending tens of millions of dollars. I've heard north of $40 million to come in and put this show on. And so before we even start up a race car, Ben Kennedy with NASCAR is having to say he doesn't know if we'll be back next year. So when I look at my sport and my peers and my team owners and our TV partners, and I look at how they want to go in and invest gazillions of dollars into this community, and whether you like it or not, that's what it is. It's all about money. And so for you to say as a city, you don't know if you want us back for the next 2 years and we can't already be selling tickets and talking about it, then that leader can off. That's just where I'm coming from on this. And it really pisses me off.
So, Brett, then on that note, looking at the race this weekend, do you think that the product is there, do you think they should be coming back?
Well, it's funny you asked that because I got hammered all week for basically saying I don't like the way the city is run.
We
And
know.
then here we are on Saturday. We've got this awesome race going on. And then we stop it for lightning, which I totally get. That is typically in our world a 30-minute delay, Casey. Well, as it turns out, the city of Chicago doesn't do it that way. They do a 90-minute delay. But not only did they do a delay, they kicked all of the fans and even all of the spotters and everyone out of the area. And when I say kicked out, I wasn't there. But I'll let Freddie and TJ and whoever else wants to talk about it today talk about how they were talked to and screamed at and told basically to get the hell out of here and leave your belongings behind. So when you hear me say I don't like the way this place is run, this is a prime example. Cancel the concert. They could have had that concert. We could have finished that race. It's an absolute embarrassment to what we do for a living to not be able to finish that race on Saturday afternoon and have the concert and have all of those fans that invested all of their time and hard-earned money to come in and have the experience that they deserve. So I will stand on the hill, the city of Chicago's leaders.
Okay, well, let's take it then to Freddie and TJ, who were actually at the race. What did you guys think of Chicago race weekend?
So listen, I got there and didn't know what to think going into it. Obviously, I've never been to Chicago, don't know anything about the city. Where we were staying was beautiful. The area around the racetrack, Julie, Tim Berman, the NASCAR side of things, they did a phenomenal job. The place looked amazing, super easy to navigate. You can kind of go. We walked around the track on Friday when I got there. You kind of go anywhere you want. Then I Saturday mistakenly thought I could still do that on Saturday and ran into a couple gates and had to take a couple detours. But it was super easy to navigate. The area looked great. The fountains were awesome where the team deal was. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a phenomenal weekend. And then that yellow flag came out in the middle of that Xfinity race for Lightning. And it's like it sucked all the wind out of the sails for that day and then potentially the weekend. I thought we were trending in such a great direction. Julie was on the roof with us, talking and joking around, and there's a rumor that Julie's got a new nickname, Spotter Julie, because she took such good care of us this weekend. Their spotter stand was phenomenal. The Turn 11 deal with the Symphony Hall was phenomenal. Obviously, the buses wasn't ideal, but there's really needed to have somebody in that area, and that was probably the best case scenario without having to put up a new structure. But I mean, going around town, you ran into people on the streets. They were all super excited about us coming there. I talked to my Uber driver one morning, and he said that I said, is traffic are really jacked up because of the racetrack? He said, no, not at all. He said it's actually flowing really better. Even I think for us, me walking in and looking around, I never saw huge traffic jams anywhere. Everything seemed to be flowing really well. And it was just unfortunate that we got to a point, and to Brett's point, we normally get a lightning hold, and it is seek shelter. It is kind of get off of the grandstands. Do whatever you can to seek shelter, get underneath something, take cover, whatever it is. And this just felt really different for whatever reason. Like we were on the spotter stand, which was the President's Paddock Club, and we were up there for a little while, and they were starting to clear some fans out. Normally, not that it doesn't apply to us, but it's kind of they tell us to go. If we want to leave, we can leave and go seek shelter. If not, it's on us to, if you want to put yourself in harm's way, I guess you could call it. But they were not joking around, and TJ can attest to this because I think he was still up there. Like it got pretty heated between some of the security guards and us and our officials, and then hearing some of the stories from some of the team members who are down in suites that, I mean, they're paying $120,000 for these suites to essentially get kicked out until they're like you can leave your stuff here, and there's people going in and out of the suite that don't belong in there. So that was unfortunate, but I mean everything was perfect up until that lightning delay, and then kind of all hell broke loose from that point on. But I mean, TJ, you could talk about what you felt.
I had a lot of similar. I've been to Chicago before, and I really enjoyed it. So I think downtown Chicago is a great city. The views that we had from the racetrack, traffic was a non-issue at all. Navigating where we needed to go was very seamless. And like Freddie said, he's right about the vibe, man. There was people there for the first time. that were genuinely excited to be there. Never seen a race before, never done anything with NASCAR before, and are genuinely excited. And it's not very often we go to these tracks now and see new fans in big groups like that excited. I mean, when they took the green for the Xfinity race, when the field went by, I turned around and looked at some people's reactions and stuff, and it was like, holy cow, this is awesome. I mean, I'm sure Freddie saw some of the same, but um, seeing that from people is exactly, to me, is a home run for NASCAR. And I realize, the city let NASCAR come in there and put this track up and worked with them. Obviously, there's some things to iron out with it. That park, where we were at, has different ordinances and things they go by. And we've been throwing a lot of curveballs, and most of the time, every time NASCAR gets thrown a curveball, to me, with weather stuff like this, they're very persistent, and they did what they had to do. And I don't think it's obviously what they wanted to do on Saturday, but that's what had to be done. And yeah, there's some things to iron out with it, but if that's the worst part of the weekend, imagine if it was sunny. Imagine if it was sunny and that vibe carried over. I mean, the amount of rain we had, like Brett, I know you weren't there, but the amount of rain we had, I didn't think we were racing. I mean, it was, and from some tweets that I saw as well, where the rain amount was more than they've had. Did they set a record? I think
Yeah.
they might have set a record. So to set a record for rainfall and to still get a race in that day, I think that's an incredible accomplishment. And just seeing like, man, if that happened in an oval, that you know what it's like when it rains in an oval. Like, a lot of people don't stick around. There were more people there walking around, soaking wet, still there enjoying the show. That place, when the rain did quit, how fast did that place fill up, Freddie? It filled up pretty quick. I mean,
Yeah.
these people were ready to go. It looked amazing. The facility, everything that was built there. Seeing the pictures on Friday, or on Thursday or midweek, when people started getting there, and it kind of coming to life, and the track being challenging, throw a little rain in there and making it even more difficult for these drivers to navigate. I think to me, I think it's a home run for the city and for NASCAR. So, I loved it in Chicago. I enjoyed it. I think I thought the race was good. We had passes for the lead. We had some wrecks. Everyone thought we were going to block the track and everyone's going to pile in there. Well, guess what? Everybody stopped. And I don't know, the car that wrecked the most yesterday still finished the race. I mean, that 42 was in the barriers, I mean, at least 3 times. And they pull him out and keep going. So how the track was laid out as well, there was punishment for making a mistake, which we don't have at a lot of places. There's so much room for error at a lot of these places. It was nice to see, there'd be some repercussions for making a mistake. So I think, and when somebody wrecked, it didn't just block the entire track. There was still escape routes. There was still, obviously when the 4 pulled back across the track, it blocked the track, but he was doing that to retain his track position. But I'm sure we'll cover that later in the show. But no, to me, home run for the fans, NASCAR, everybody involved.
Yeah. I mean, it was, if you would have asked me at some point on Saturday, I would have said there's 1,000% chance we're coming back. And it was just like, it was so, and when I say that people were screaming at us, and it wasn't NASCAR people, seemed like local security that was
Just
probably
doing what they're
idea, but
told.
They're doing what they're told.
That's the problem is they're doing what they're told by the guy that was pulling the plug on the entire event. When, based on the conversations I was having with even guys like you, people on the ground, even Andrew, who is a Chicago native, it was, we're going to be able to get this thing back in. Andrew was on Twitter going, we're going to get this thing started any minute. I don't know why all these people are leaving. I hope they let them come back. Well, guess what? They kicked them out and didn't let them come back.
Andrew
That's the
also
problem.
put diesel in a gasoline car, just so you know.
You
But
can't
so
you
goes
can't sit
question as
here.
well.
You can't sit here and look at this and say any of this is going to be bad without the direction of one person on Saturday that pulled the plug on that thing. Terrible on his part. But here's the thing that people need to realize. We could have went to Joliet and we could have raced around that mile and a half racetrack, and NASCAR would have spent minimal dollars to put that event on. We could have gone to tons of racetracks in this country, and NASCAR would have had to invest minimal dollars to put that event on. They spent a pile of money to go and do this. They spent way more than they spend at LA. We know how small that LA footprint is compared to where you guys were this weekend, and they did a phenomenal job. So if we're going to pick a city to partner with and spend that kind of money, I want it to be a long-term investment, because the folks that I talked to, even as recently as this morning, are telling me that when we go back to Chicago, the NASCAR investment side would be about half, because they've already purchased all of the assets they need for the infrastructure side. So that's my biggest thing, my biggest problem with the city of Chicago. A, you need to want us there if we're going to come spend all this money. B, our industry alone brings in a ton of tourism revenue, restaurants, hotels, obviously not rental cars, but public transit, like all of the things that we come in and spend money on as an industry. I want to be somewhere that we're welcome. That's my biggest problem with this whole thing.
But don't you think that when NASCAR initially signed this deal, they had a mayor and they thought that they would have the support that they were supposed to have? I mean,
I mean, does it matter if the current mayor's saying we don't know if we're going to do this again? We may buy them out, then we got to pick it up, move it somewhere else. Like I am a traditionalist. I did not like the fact that we left Daytona Beach on July 4th weekend. I'm sorry. It's the way I grew up. It's the way it was. I loved it. Did I adapt to it? Yes. I said, all right, we'll go to Road America. I'll buy into this thing. I even pumped the shit out of it on how great it was, how great of an area it was, how cool the people are. Well, we did that for a couple of years, and now here we are on another 1 year escapade, for our July 4th weekend. Like, Casey, I want our July 4th race to have a home, and I want it to be somewhere that we're welcomed. And look, NASCAR and the team owners right now are going through a contractual process of who's going to get what money in the future. All right. And if you look at it, it's like, all right, what teams are going to get this? What tracks are going to get that? And when you see that NASCAR can go into a market and spend tens of millions of dollars to put on one race, then it tells us that there's more money out there to be distributed within the industry. So if we're going to invest this kind of money, I want to do it somewhere that we've got a future. That's my biggest thing. And I realize all these ignorant people that have tweeted me all week are upset at me because I made fun of it being a liberal run city and I made fun of some other things. I don't care about those people. Those people don't know me. They don't know what I think. I'm giving you guys a chance to actually hear and see what I'm having to say about my problems with this situation. Again, the people in Chicago, always nice to me. Gibson's one of my favorite steakhouses in this country. Been on top of Sears Tower, love the city. Haven't been in years, but I haven't been to any big cities really since COVID hit, because when I went to LA last year to run the Clash, which was one of my probably things that one of the bigger reasons I came back was literally to work at that venue because of the history of the LA Coliseum. And then as I walked around downtown LA and I had to step over human poop and I had to see more drugs on the sidewalk than I've ever seen in my life, I just simply haven't gone back to big cities. That is my option as an American. I can go where I want to go. I don't have to go into these big cities. I grew up in a town with 2,500 people in the middle of nowhere, and you better not speed when you go through there, Freddie. But, man, listen, I love the people. I love the area. I just want to see support from the leaders, and so far I'm not feeling the love. I'm off my soapbox for the rest of the show.
but on the opposite side, if we were to go to a Joliet or a Daytona, do you think there would be as much buzz as there was this weekend? Again, prior to all of the rain. I mean,
Not
I
even
think
close.
that a few years ago we talked about on the show how NASCAR needs to do new things, how NASCAR needs to try new stuff, and I mean, this is something that is brand new. This is probably one of the most iconic events that will go down in history. And yes, I agree. Obviously, the city didn't support it, but what if after conversations and later on we take this?
Then I'll change my mind. I'll totally change my mind if they take a better approach to it. I'll change my mind. But when you look at LA, the first year we went, tons of buzz, tons of hype. The second year, it's less. So when we go back to Chicago, it's probably going to be less. But I don't care as long as you can pick me a July 4th weekend home, just like I love the Labor Day home at Darlington. I mean, again, I'm a traditionalist. I'm 48 years old. I've been following the sport since I was 4 years old. So there are things that I'm not going to be okay with you changing unless you can convince me as to why. And right now, I'm not at the why part.
Well, roughly 80% of the tickets sold were for new first-time race fans. So I think NASCAR is doing their job with what we talked about in the show, trying to get those new race fans, trying to bring new people to the track. I mean, at
I
least on the
think if
Sunday
Brett,
side, like I'm
I
all
think
for
if
it.
you were there, Brett, I think you'd have been pumped up about it because just the vibe, you could just feel it. You know how like, and I agree with you. I do miss the Daytona Fourth of July race because you know what it's like. More on the roof, getting ready for that Xfinity race or whatever. You see over the beach, you see all them fireworks going off, and you know people are just having a great time. I do miss that, but the vibe there this weekend. Remember Road? Did you go? You went to Road America a couple years ago, right? Remember how it was just the race fans there were excited and this was like Road America, but on its in the city with a lot more people. Like to me, maybe not a lot more people, but combined in one smaller area. So
And here's the thing, TJ, that's exactly right. Our race fans are the best fans in all sports, and under no circumstance should they be kicked out of a facility in the middle of a lightning delay. If anything, they should have been provided somewhere to have safe harbor, especially if they were already somewhere that was safe. The last thing that we should be doing is forcing them out to lock the
I
gate behind
think
them and say, "You're not coming
so.
back today."
I think there's ordinance for the park though, and there's no shelters in the park, so they have to go out of the park district or whatever that is. I'm guessing because they ran everybody out of there. So
That's the
um,
problem, is we're all guessing because nobody for the city ever come out and publicly said anything.
yeah, that's
I mean, I agree.
understandable.
There's always going to be something that's, obviously didn't work out. And on NASCAR side, I was a part of the planning of it, and I think to see the end product take the rain away, like
That's the
it
most work that
exceeded expectations.
That's the most work that NASCAR has ever put in to do one race and to know that you're only going there at one time. I hope we go back next year. I hope the mayor comes to the table and says, "Look, you guys were great for us. NBC did a great job beautifying how pretty our city is and showcasing all these things." And
Are
I
you
hope they
coming?
come to terms. And it's a long term, not if it's July 4th weekend, dude. Sorry. Um, I'm not saying, listen, I love the city of Chicago. I just want to see us go somewhere where we're supported. And I'll get off my soapbox for the second
No,
time.
I mean, and that's fair too. I think like July 4th, it is. I do miss the Daytona vibe. I think it's cool that NASCAR is doing something new, and um, so
I
we'll
think
be
next year's
curious.
event has a chance to be bigger than this year's event if they do it there again. Because if it's a good the weather's good and they can promote it and give all the concerts they were supposed to have and be able to do the performances. I'm sure. I mean, Freddie can tell you right now there was you'd have been dancing half the time, Brett, because there was all sorts of music playing and just the vibe that was going on. I think if it's clear and sunny out, I think that place is even more packed with people, and I think the vibes really, I think it's really, really good.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm most curious about, Freddie, is whether or not any of these people get refunded any of their money because they did one third of the concert they promised. They did one and a half of the races that they promised. Obviously, you literally cannot control the weather. But as we saw, those ticket prices were not cheap. So, how do we make all of those people that were so excited, to your point, Casey, 80% that were coming for the first time ever? How do you make them realize that we need them to come back? Because if I paid $500 for a ticket and I saw one out of three concerts and one and a half races out of two, I don't know how I would feel about that if I didn't get some sort of compensation back. And maybe they've said something about potential refunds. I don't know. But last I saw, man, I was just bummed that those fans didn't get what they paid for. And you could see during the Cup race on television how wet the area was in front of that stage. But as an event company, you have to be prepared for that. I mean, we've seen tons of concerts that go off in the rain. The artists are on stage jamming out, and the people out in the crowd with ponchos and beer in their hands, right? So I don't think you can justify, in my mind, canceling the concert on Saturday and canceling the concert on Sunday because of the rain. And I know you guys are hearing me, and you're like, man, whatever. Listen, it's my job as a concert paying fan to put on rain boots and go out there and stand in the mud and still enjoy Miranda Lambert if that's what I want to do. Miranda Lambert still has to play in my mind, as did the band on Saturday night, Chainsmokers. They didn't play. So it just goes back to what I'm bummed about, and I think it's a leadership problem, nothing to do with NASCAR. NASCAR did not do one single thing wrong from an event perspective once Friday got there. They couldn't control the rain, and what they were dealt from the city, it sucks.
Hey guys, you like easy money? Then you'll love our new partner, MoneyLion, the all-in-one mobile finance app designed to help you take control of your money. With MoneyLion, you can borrow, save, invest, and earn money all in one place.
That's right. Spot On, Spot Off is now presented by Moneyline, the official digital finance partner of 2311 Racing.
Download the MoneyLion app, set up direct deposit, and get up to $55.
That's right, with promo code $DirtyMo.
That's promo code $DirtyMo and earn up to $55. All right, well, we have plenty to talk about, so let's head into spot on, spot off. First topic, NASCAR said in a statement, in the spirit of partnership with the city, returning on Monday for the NASCAR said in a statement, in the spirit of partnership, returning on Monday for the completion of a NASCAR Xfinity Series event 2 laps short of halfway was an option we chose not to employ. Spot on, spot off, Freddie.
I think spot on for the. I think at the end of the day, the right call was made on Saturday. I mean, on Sunday. I wish that call was probably made on Saturday to save the team some money. Or the fact that we should have probably, there was no rain in the area. I mean, you could start clearing the place out and let them guys roll around there for 2 more laps and then bring them to pit road. I don't know. I see an outrage about, where we cut it short of halfway. But would you have been as outraged if we went out there and rolled around for 2 laps and then threw the checker, because that was on the table, it sounded like, at some point? Or if we just rolled around 2 more laps under caution on Saturday night and then came down pit road and then threw the checker at the end of the night. Like, they were in a box where, obviously, it was way bigger than us. It sounded like that race didn't have a prayer of getting restarted on Saturday after you go back and look at it. And then Sunday, the weather was what it was. We knew what was coming on Sunday morning. So I don't know how you look at that and so say, if you're going to make this decision, if this is on the table for you, and I seen where, Bob shared a tweet where in rare instances they can kind of do whatever they want. That's kind of always been part of their rule book. I don't know why this call wasn't made on Saturday night. Like, all right, you know what? Instead of making everybody stay here, we had heard rumors of, we heard on the radio at points, like, we're kind of in a predicament that we don't know how to handle right now. And if that's the case, like, let's just cut it all off and get the hell out of here. Like, there seemingly was no reason to me to stay overnight when you knew the weather in the morning was going to be kind of what it was, and you were going to have to deal with standing water. You were going to have to deal with unfavorable conditions, and we had 2 laps left. Like, if this was on the table to cut it off short, we should have done it Saturday night, in my opinion.
I don't know. See, no one knew that weather was gonna. I mean, it literally looked like we were in a hurricane, and no one had predicted that. And I don't know if Brett saw it. Brett probably didn't see the radar from there. His was
I
probably
see the
85
radar
and sun.
everywhere in the country. I'm a weather geek.
It is. It literally looked like a hurricane was going,
I saw it
and we were
twisting.
it was unreal. And I mean, we were literally in the middle of it. I mean, we were all in the same little area, and I don't know. It was. I think maybe the weather. Nobody knows what the weather is going to do at all times. You don't know what it's going to do. So I think to call the race on Saturday and send them home, and then you get up Sunday and say it's only a light rain instead of a torrential downpour like it was. I mean, then you're cutting the fan short of a race that could have happened, and then that's even worse to me. So I think you have to come back and make an attempt at it. I hate that the team spent money on it, and I know there's guys like John Hunter and some other guys that wanted a shot at racing some more. I mean, I wanted to keep going. We were on a different pit strategy and planning for track position a little bit later. Actually, the next stop, we were looking to have a shorter stop and leap over some guys that were going to have to take more fuel. Guys were going to have to get tires and fuel when we were only going to get a little bit of fuel. So we were hoping to leap over them guys. So I think the right, to postpone it and come back and try to get it in. And, I don't think they tried so hard to get us out there, even to run a couple laps and even try it. But I think given the circumstances that were dealt, and, anytime you break a record for rainfall, I mean, that's pretty big to break a record. I mean, that's a lot of rain. So, but I think NASCAR made the right call and did what they had to do to try to get the events in, and then when it came too late and they knew they couldn't do it, they did the right thing. So I don't think making them guys stick around until Monday was the right thing. So I mean, I think everything was done correctly.
Hindsight's 2020. We talk about Monday morning quarterback. Freddie and I literally started the Couch Racer brand because of things like this. Because it's easy for us to sit here on a Monday and say, "Well, we should have done on a Friday night." I feel like NASCAR was in it for the long haul for the Xfinity race. Obviously, they couldn't get it in on Saturday. They made to move to call it. I think, to TJ's point, they made the right move. I'm spot on for the call. I'm spot off for the fact that the fans had to be so confused because it wasn't halfway and because we weren't at the end of stage two, which would have given us the opportunity to make the race official. So they called a race that wasn't official based on the way a rule was written that Freddie shared with me yesterday that basically said we can do what we want whenever we want, no matter if you agree with it or not. So I understand why the fans were confused, and it was with warrant, but I also think that NASCAR, from a sanctioning body perspective, made the right call, primarily because when that track is ready, you need to be able to put your premier series out there to fulfill the obligation to the fans, the Cup fans that are there, that have paid big money to be there. And if we sit around and piddle with that Xfinity race a little while longer, I don't think that was going to be the case. And then they would have had to delay it to Monday. We heard rumors that would have cost a lot of money from a traffic pattern perspective to leave the road course intact until Monday, that it had to be broken down and loaded out by Monday at midnight. So financially and for the sport, right call. Just sucks for the fans, but I don't know what you could do differently.
Where was this roll back? Whatever year it was, Brett. And we were in Michigan for like 3, 4 for until like Wednesday or something.
Yeah,
I
that
don't.
was
I don't. What
that was
day
a
did we
long
even
time
race
ago.
on? Did we
Dude,
race
I
on
want to say
Tuesday
it
or
was.
Wednesday?
I want to say it was. I want to say it was Tuesday afternoon, and we were getting ready to take the green, and then fog set in, and the drivers could see, but we couldn't see the racetrack. And I remember
Yeah.
Elliott saying, "Well, I can see. I don't need you. Let's go green." I said, "You don't understand. We can't see the racetrack, which means if y'all wreck, NASCAR can't throw the caution. They won't even know you've wrecked because they're up here just as high as we
Yeah.
are." But yeah, that was a long time ago. But we never started that race. We didn't actually start it until that Tuesday. I ate
No,
at the
that
Outback
was
every single night for 5 nights.
that was it. I'm not gonna lie. That was some of the most rain I've ever seen somewhere get as well. So yeah. What you got, Casey?
Moving on, race officials score Byron, LaJoy, and Harvick despite them being involved in the multi-car pileup. Brett, based off your grin, you go first. Spot on, spot off.
I just don't know how you can cause a massive pileup, and the 24 caused the pileup, and then multiple cars drive by the scene of the accident, and then after that the track gets completely blocked, and then we roll off, and the 24 is allowed to restart the race, and I think what was the 10th position. So I am 100% spot off for William Byron, not only causing the wreck, but getting to essentially retain where he was on the racetrack, Freddie.
Yeah, so we were right behind this. We were probably the fourth or fifth car in line, and it was not
That's
my
normal.
section. Yeah, it was not my section. So I heard our spotter say, "Get right, get right." We kind of slid through the corner, and we were the first car when Byron had slid off to the left, and then Harvick kind of spun in reaction to that, and it kind of created the seven to spin, and then those two had the track blocked, and then we were the first car like nosed up to the middle of them. So once they moved, we kind of shot through there. But at the same time, I don't know, 5 or 6 guys had passed us on the right before the seven had completely blocked the track. So we rolled through there, and Bubba has still got a chip on his shoulder over Darlington a little bit. So he's like, I better get my spot back. I didn't hit nothing. I didn't touch nobody. And I said, well, we stopped. We'll see what they do. I don't know. So I was fully anticipating about seven
Losing
or eight cars.
spots.
Yeah, about 7 or 8 cars being ahead of us. And I even said on Channel 2, if anybody was listening, I said, man, he's not going to be happy, but I think they're going to put us back about 10 spots. Because he had driven all the way back up to like 5th. And I said, yeah, I think they're going to put us back a bunch here. So then they start calling out the lineup, and it was the guys that were in front of us already. And then it was the 45 and the 54 who were the first two to miss it on the right, Reddick and Gibbs. They kind of squeezed through on the right first. And then I think the next group was like Denny and maybe the 16, AJ. As a couple more guys went through on the right. Well, we restarted in front of them. And I was like, the lineup comes out, and it said all those guys. And then it was 24, 4, 7, And I'm like, then there was 23, I think. And I'm like, oh wow, we got our spot back essentially. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, everybody got their spot back. And then they get on the radio and they're like, listen, the track was blocked, so we're gonna go off the freeze, and this is the lineup off the freeze. And I'm like, okay, but nobody gets penalized for being the one that blocked the track. Like I don't understand. Like I get it, the track is blocked, and you're. I don't know if this was an adjustment they made this week because of the potential for this. But like normally, if you stop in a wreck, you would go wherever you blend. But I know this was probably in rare instances again. Um, but like these guys were the three cars that had the track blocked. The 24 was the one that nosed it into the wall there in 11. The 4 and the 7 spin to block the track, reacting to the 24, and they're the ones that have the track blocked. Like, and then everybody else stops behind it. I don't understand what's so hard about, and it would have hurt our team, so I'm glad it didn't happen. But the track's blocked. I get it. Okay, great. We should go as we come out of that pack. Once they get the track unblocked, or however it works, like that's how you line up. Like not like because there's literally we probably gained 7 spots out of that, 6, 7 spots, and I loved it. But um, like I don't, I don't know. I don't get the rules. I thought that if you maintain reasonable speed, like the 6 and them guys did at Darlington, they were about 50, 60 miles an hour. They got their spot back. The 21 had an issue. I forget where it was. Maybe Gateway. He slowed down more. He was down to about 20, 30 mile an hour. He didn't get his spot back. We stopped yesterday. Somehow got our spot back. I'm just as always begging for consistency, and I'm still not seeing it.
Yeah, I don't. I'm spot off because there was actual cars that did like stop and wreck, and I mean, and the track wasn't blocked until the 4 car pulled up and blocked the track. He's the one that pulled up to the wall in front of him because a couple, 2, 3 cars went by, and Truex was getting ready to go by, and I think it was the 4. Was it the 4, Freddie, or the 7? I think it was the
I
4.
don't remember which one it was. I think it was a 4.
It was the
But I
four.
mean, he pulls up and blocks the track, and to me, I think you look at the road course stuff, you look at accidents here, and you say, okay, you were the cause of the yellow. I mean, they threw the yellow for what? The 24, the 4, and the 7. Those were the 3 cars I think that you threw the yellow for. And I think if you're the reason for the yellow, you don't get to retain your track position. And I mean, otherwise, who's to say you need a yellow and you get 3 of you just to block the track and stop? They throw the yellow, then you just take off again, then you get a free yellow. I think if you're the reason for the yellow, I think it's an automatic no brainer here that, and it would stop people from blocking the track too. And I mean, you'd hope anyway, but it didn't really hurt us because we got legacied in turn 6 the first lap of the race by the torpedo in the 43, which was awesome. So,
You should have been
yeah.
going faster. You wouldn't have been in his way.
I mean, if we went any faster, we were going to hit the wall like he did. So, um, apparently, yeah. So that was disappointing to have somebody overdrive that much and ruin your day that quick in the race. And I feel bad for Noah because I think Noah was actually pretty decent yesterday, and he got to our right side, and
He
whenever
could
we
get
were
into 6 better than most people.
well, so now the 43 got into 6 better than most of them too. Maybe it was the 43 and turn 6, so he hit the 6. I don't know. Is there some sort of weird something lining up there? But I don't know, man. I think if you're the reason for the yellow, you should not get your spots back for people stopping to avoid from plowing into you. I mean, now you're just saying we all should just hammer down and plow through there instead of being safe about it. If you're the cause for the yellow, you're going to the back no matter what. Road street racing.
I just don't understand how you come on the radio and say the track was blocked and this is how we're going to do it. Oh, well, why was the track blocked? like a barricade didn't fall out there. Somebody blocked the racetrack and they just got their spot back
Yeah.
because the track.
There was literally no repercussions for William making a mistake, and that's not how it should be. If you are the reason, and you're not just changing his track position right there. You're changing pit strategies for everyone in that field depending on what's happening in that race. For the leaders, the guys in the back that keep pitting, getting fuel, trying to get a shorter stop lane or something. You're changing a lot of stuff, and there was literally no repercussions for it, but 2, 3 spots. So
Speaking of changing pitch strategies, Casey, what's the next topic?
Oh man, I feel like we can talk about this for hours. NASCAR shortened the race length from 100 to 75 laps midway through the event, upsetting crew chiefs and drivers who were set on a specific strategy. Freddie, spot on, spot off.
I mean, 1,000% spot off. I feel like there was a few different ways this could have been handled, and when we didn't take any of those avenues, it's for one to start like to just to we knew. I mean, first of all, there's a rule in place, which obviously I know we were going to do everything we could to get out of there yesterday. Like we did not want to be there today racing. So I have no issues with you. I kind of knew. I think I was tweeting with you or texting with you guys in the text, like you might see some stuff that's unprecedented today, just because we need to get the hell out of here. Like it was pretty obvious that this weekend wasn't going great for the city side of things, and we needed to get out of there yesterday. So we started that race maybe with not enough time. Normally the rule is that we need to start the race with an ample amount of time to complete the race, and I don't think that happened yesterday. Unless, I mean, maybe if you were considering it going green to checker without any cautions, we could have gotten it in before dark, but it would have been tough. So there's going to be yellows. There's going to be the pace is slowed because we're starting in the wet. Um, so if that's the case, there's ways to go about this before the race starts or as the race gets started. You see what the pace is to make it fair for everybody, whether or not it's saying we're racing until sunset. Yesterday we looked up, I think it was 8:29. Hey, we're racing until 8:20. That gives everybody an idea of okay, whatever it's 8:20 and we're throwing the white flag. There's one more lap to go at 8:20. Then everybody knows how long we're racing, and they can base their strategy off of that. The biggest thing is you cannot shorten a race and then have the laps remaining less than a fuel run. We could run probably 37, 38 laps on a tank of fuel yesterday. Well, all of a sudden you make the race. We're back there, and the 8 and the 22 did the same as us. We're just pitting because we're running in the back. Like the yellow would come out, we're no reason not to come top off. Well, all of a sudden now we're rolling around under caution, and I knew, like, we heard them say something on the radio, like, "Hey, all the officials have like a number to identify themselves. They don't say like, hey Kip, go here." It's usually, I think Kip's number is like 47, so it's like 47, go to this channel or whatever. So we hear them say, "Hey, go to the go-to channel," and I looked at Nick Payne, who was right behind me, and I think he was leading or running second at the time, and I said they're getting ready to do something with whether I don't know if they're going to throw the checker right now or change the distance or say we got what time. And then they come up and say there's essentially 25 laps to go or 28 laps to go. I'm like, well, wow, they just royally f***ed all the leaders, because at this point, I'm like, we can make it on fuel, and now the 8 can make it on fuel, and the 22 I think was another one that could make it on fuel, and the leaders can't. The leaders all had to pit. They all needed to come. So now I think there was 11 of us that stayed out, and then put them guys behind the 8 ball of Christopher Bell was in control of that race. He was the dominant car. He was in control, and I don't know. I think he restarted 12th probably on that restart, just for the fact of they just made a call to change the distance of the race and not make it a fuel window. And like if you're thinking the other way they could have handled this, I think, and maybe I don't know, would have helped a whole lot, but it would have helped some. Was they should have announced it. They announced the change after the pit cycle. Like if they would have just let these guys come around and pit, and then say, because now you're not making your pit decision based on we're running 25 more or 28 more laps, whatever it was. There might not have been as many guys stayed out. I think we were going to stay out because we had a number like if we can gain 5 spots, we were going to do it. I'm sure the 8 and some of them guys that pit real late in that the first or second stage would have done the same thing. But you just gave these guys carte blanche to go, hey, well, hell, we got 2-3 laps on our tires and we can make it on fuel. We might as well stay out now because there's only 20 to go or 28 to go, whatever it was. It's just I feel like we just dropped the ball there, where you put the guys that were leading and in control of the race at a severe disadvantage by changing the distance as late as they did.
TJ.
Yeah, I mean, that's not really, I think there's probably a way to be more proactive with it. That the 20 car, like Freddie said, we kind of knew it was a possibility. Once we got through about the first hour of the race and we saw how many laps were done, and how much time we had left, and everyone says, "Oh, well, sunset's at 8:44 or whatever." I don't even remember what it was, but that's when it's sunny. And I don't know if you saw the amount of rain we had that day. There wasn't much sun in the sky. So sunset, dark was going to be quite a bit before that. And, it did kind of, I don't really think it was a fair shake for the 20 car or the leaders up there because it basically shifted, like, Freddie mentioned it, the 31, the 3, the 2, all them, got shuffled right to the front because of a race being shortened, and I wasn't sure they could make it on fuel. And I asked Matt, I'm like, Matt, how far can these guys go? And he's like, oh, they're good. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I
And
will say though,
those are the guys
well,
that would have pit.
yeah,
Those are the guys that
uh,
wouldn't have. If they don't know that there's
no,
25 to go, they're coming for sure.
yeah, 100%. I will say though that a car that was on the same strategy as the 20 and them still won the race. So the 5 was, I think, the second car on the leader strategy up there in that group, and he finished top 5 still, I think. So there was still possibility for the 20 if everything played out right. He still had a shot at winning that race if he doesn't. I think he made a couple mistakes and overshot some corners trying too hard to get back up there. The 91, I think, was a little more patient, just taking advantage of mistakes like that, and ultimately had better tires than the guys in the front at the end and still won the race. But definitely, I think there's more. I think there's some to learn from this. They got, you got better timing on stuff on what's suitable to race in and stuff because it was starting to get pretty dark there. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was getting close. So
Was it
um,
getting dark or not? You
it
said it
was
was
getting
getting
dark.
dark. Well, it wasn't terrible.
Uh, there we probably could have done one more green white checker maybe. I don't know. I mean and I actually thought we were going to need one because you
And
know how
this
green white
this was
checkers are on road courses
Brett.
with
This
us.
was an issue I think with the start time.
I was I
Yeah.
was gonna I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
My question,
Brett,
Freddie,
I want to
is
hear what you
I got a
think, but I
question for I got a
also
question for Freddie though. Freddie, if they say they're shortening the race because of darkness to 75 laps, should there be green white checkers after that? If you're going to a hard set, you know what I mean? Like if it's going to be dark and
It,
you like, why don't we race till lap 180
yeah,
or I
like
mean
we
80?
yeah, I don't know. We called it, we called it overtime, and I don't know. It wasn't overtime because we hadn't even got to the end of the race yet.
I know. So
Overtime was 101, not 76.
if you shorten the
but
race to
it's hard to tell.
75,
But
should it end there?
I mean, yeah, essentially, if you're saying that's our hard cutoff, yes. But and Brett, this is something obviously you would hear what you think about that. But our start time was what 4:55. I think green flag was what originally was before they moved it. I think we ended up starting probably around 5:30, so that's 30 minutes. Like if we weren't gonna if that at that pace we weren't gonna run 100 laps at the advertised start time. So like that's something we got to address going back there too.
Yeah, obviously you started with a track wet, so the track's going to be slower. I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like, as a fan of motorsports, NASCAR is the best fan experience you can have watching from home. You have the television, you have the radio broadcast. Both of those have been around forever. But you also have the apps to follow, listen in on in-car radios, et cetera, or watch in-car cameras. But in addition to that, you've got social media. And I can tell you, Bob Pockrass and Jeff Gluck and Jim Utter and Jenna Fryer, Kelly Crandall, there's a bunch of them that are there that are able to give you a lot of inside perspective and opinions. And Gluck tweeted well before they changed the distance that there's no way that we have time to run all of these laps. Now, as a fan that's sitting here on the East Coast, I'm not thinking about that because I know you have about an hour more of daylight than I've got here. And I literally looked at it and I looked at the math of it and I was like, he's right. We don't have a chance to get to about lap 85. Here's my struggle. My struggle is, as a sanctioning body, Freddie, you should know that you don't have time to run this whole race when you're 10 laps in. Somebody should be sitting there working on that. When we have experienced racers in the booth, like Elton Sawyer, like Chad Little, like Jesse Little, they have got to put people around them to help them make good decisions in an efficient manner. We shouldn't be changing the distance of the race that late when we should have known well before that it was going to be a problem. Again, I'm sitting at the beach on vacation, having a cocktail, watching this thing on TV, having an absolute blast. And then when it comes out, we're changing the distance. And I start looking at it, I'm like, well, we had to have known this 45 minutes, an hour, maybe even at the point we threw the green flag that this was a problem. So why didn't we change the advertised distance then? That's my struggle. It's not the fact that they had to make a change. It's the fact that they had to make a change so late. And when they made the change, it gave some people a major advantage, i.e., some of the guys that were sitting up there in front.
Yeah, I mean, if you see it, and you don't, it doesn't have to be very early. Like NASCAR knows what our fuel window is. NASCAR knows these guys can run within a 5 lap fuel window. If you have this number of 75 in your head, you've got to subtract 37, 38, whatever it is from 75, and that's your cutoff point. Like you can't make it you cannot shorten the race shorter than a fuel run. You can't do it because you've just changed the race. And I know, the 20 had an opportunity to get there, because the 91 did. But at the same time, he just got penalized essentially 11 spots because of the call they made, or 10 spots. And they would have run the race differently, way differently, if they knew they were only racing a lap 75. So it's just you can't. They dropped the ball there. I mean, we saw this. We talked about it on here a couple years ago when they ran that race at Loudon. There has to be a hard cutoff time because that race there, the 10's leading. He's checked out. Ironically, the 20 got screwed again because the 20 is running the 10 down, and all of a sudden we throw the checker with 8 to go. Like, was it going to get that much darker in, I don't know, what's a lap, 4 more minutes? I thought the 20 was, I thought looking at lap time, the 20 was going to get there that day. But for some reason, we decided randomly all right, there's 10 laps to go now. Or whatever. I forget what they called that day. But there was no warning again. They just randomly ended the race for whatever reason. So I think if you see this as an opportunity, you've got to get out way ahead of it. And like I said, there's no reason yesterday where we couldn't say, we know this is an issue. Okay, guys, we're going to race till, we know sunsets at 8:30 or 8:29. We're going to run till 8:15, and then at 8:15, we're throwing the white flag. No matter what lap it is, no matter who's running where, if it's yellow, caution, red, purple, whatever it is, when we get to 8:15, this race is over, and everybody would run on the same page, and they could have run the race the same way and known, when they could make it to the end of the race based on fuel mileage. And there was guys yesterday that for one, it saved their race. Guys earned finishes they probably didn't deserve, and because it was hard to pass. There was guys that didn't run very good, but you give them a track position, they can hang on to it. And then there's other guys that they ruined their own day. Now 2019, they made mistakes trying to get back there and ruin their own day. But if you don't put them in this position, that doesn't happen. I don't think so.
Even despite all the things that we're sitting here bitching about, Gluck's poll is trending 86% yes, this was a good race. And again, from a viewing experience, it was great. But you guys have to look at this 2 ways. We're looking at it, was this a good race from a fan's perspective? What you guys are hearing here is industry perspective on it maybe not being completely fair and giving some teams an advantage on why we're asking for this change, right? We're not saying NASCAR sucks. We're not saying they screwed this all up. We're saying, given that you're going to be in this position, we have to recognize it sooner and we have to make decisions differently. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, and I think that race yesterday was phenomenal. I think that was one of the best what we have been asking for years on this show is to make these things hard. And we want to, Brett, we've talked about it. You don't see anybody blow turn 1 at Watkins Glen anymore. You don't see guys blow turn 4 at Sonoma. These guys were making mistakes yesterday. Talented guys that were really, we obviously seen a bunch of guys below corners that were running around the back, but you saw Christopher Bell below a corner. You've seen Tyler Reddick probably give the race away blowing turn 6. He's ahead of the 91 and faster than 91 at that point in the race, and he makes a mistake and costs himself a race. So I thought from a racing perspective, this is one of the best road course races we've had in a long time, just from sheer, challenge. This place challenged these drivers in the wet and the dry. So I
want
think
to ask
the race
TJ
was
this,
great.
though. You brought up a good point. I want to ask TJ this. All these guys, TJ, are blowing these corners. I mean, Kyle Busch burying the car in the tires. Multiple guys did the same thing. We see them, once they're hooked up, back out and roll off. Do you think a mistake of that magnitude should have a yielding preserved race car that literally is almost as good as new when they leave the scene of an accident like that.
Man, that's
I mean,
tough.
you preach on here. You preached on here for years. You make a mistake, you should pay a consequence. Obviously, they
Yeah,
lose their spot in line most of the time, but like, should that car be preserved as well as it is?
you know, my gut's telling me no, but for the driver's sake and keeping the, keeping more cars in the race, I think it's the safest thing. I think if you make the walls any harder where it hurts the car more, I mean, there's obviously spots around that track to hurt the car. We saw plenty of guys do it in practice. We saw the 24, the 47, the 9 in qualifying. There are spots to where there's more, where you just can't afford to mess up. Look at Suarez. He looked like a pinball a couple times there during the race, bouncing off the walls. And um, I I kind of like the fact that these guys. I mean, obviously, when they would wedge it in, they would lose a lap. I mean, I think most of them that had to get pulled out, Freddie, I think lost a lap from what I saw. So I
Majority.
think that's a punishment enough to me. You lose a lap, you lost your track position, and but we still have a car in the race, and it keeps the fields big, and the more cars you have out there, the more exciting it is. I mean, obviously a 36 car race is better than a 20 car race. So
Maybe we need to tear all these softballs down and just put up tire barriers all the way around these ovals. Then that way we can
I
keep
mean,
everybody intact.
well, I'm
But are you
look at Chase Elliott when he buried it off into the roval when his controller disconnected that one time into one and comes back and wins the race.
Wins the
So
race.
yeah, but and I'm okay with these cars not getting tore up that bad. I mean, obviously you can hit hard enough at spots to hurt the car. So um,
but are you
obviously
referring to like a
what's
Kyle
that?
Busch who, like at the start of the race, he had to get his car pulled out and he ended up what top five or something towards the end? Like, is that what you're referring to, Brett? Just like being able to
No,
have
I'm
some.
just referring to TJ because he always says you should have consequence for screwing up, and I'm asking him, was it enough consequence?
I think the consequences are enough because I don't think you're telling me my race should have been over because the 43 car drove it off into the corner so hard. We hit the tire barrier, bounced off of it. Obviously, he bounced off it as well, but I don't think a wreck like that should end people's days. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't think it's right for ending days on them wrecks like that.
Moving on, SVG says any of the top 10 in supercars are good enough to come and do what I just did. Brett, spot on, spot off.
Boy, I tell you something, man. I took major offense to this comment. Uh, as as someone who loves racing and who appreciates different disciplines, for him to say that he could bring his 9 other buddies over here and they run top 10 and our best cup guy finish 11th. I mean, that's not what he's saying, but he's insinuating that all of him and his buddies are just as good in this cup car as the cup drivers. And I have a problem with that. I don't think he was trying to insult our drivers and their talent. I know our drivers had some things to say after the race, like they should be embarrassed that this happened. I really wish we had AJ Allmendinger on this show right now because he made a lot of comments that we talked about at one of the earlier road courses this year in regards to the fact we were in Austin and he came to Nutrient Solutions Hospitality. And he said these guys, like an SVG, couldn't jump into an Xfinity car and go out there and do this because they're harder to drive. The shifting patterns are different. But given their experience, they can come in and jump into these cup cars and do it. I was of the belief that nobody like this would show up in a part time effort and have an opportunity as a first time starter or even a plug and play guy and have an opportunity to win this race. If this is Daytona or Talladega and it's a Brad Keselowski situation, 100% I believe it can happen. But to have a guy show up from wherever the hell he's from, I know he races in Australia. Where's he from? New Zealand?
Yes.
Shows up from New Zealand via Australia and he kicks our tails. Like, I never thought I would see this happen. It's not like this guy has the same pit crew every week. It's not like he has a great relationship with the crew chief. It's not like he's worked with the engineers to get his setup, just perfect for that particular race. He showed up and he was faster than everybody else at the end of the race. and he kicked our guys' asses. And when he made this comment, I was like, wow. Like, I don't know if this should be an insult to our guys or not. So, spot on for the fact he said what he was thinking. Spot off for just how I guess it was a gut punch for me. And again, I'll admit it, I was wrong. Project 91 is an awesome marketing effort, obviously a subsidiary of Trackhouse. I love what they're doing, the drivers that they're putting in there. But to go and have a guy show up in a part time effort with a not, I don't know, I'm blown away by it.
TJ.
Um, I didn't take as much offense to it. I follow the V8 supercars a little bit, and those guys are really good. Everything lined up perfectly for him this weekend because they drive cars that are very similar to our cars. Um, a lot of horsepower, smaller tire. So honestly, I feel like coming to this was probably easier than what he normally has to drive over there. And the guys won, I mean, probably close to 100 V8 supercar races. The guy is no joke. He's basically the modern day. I don't know how many Marcus has or whatever, but I mean, you know how good Marcus was when he come over here and ran road courses, especially. Now, do I think he comes over there and does this on an oval? Absolutely not. I do think, though, they race in the rain as well. So, with the wet weather experience, they run on street courses. Everything lined up perfectly for this guy to come over here. Limited dry track time, which probably hurts our guys here. I don't like. I am not surprised by this one bit at all. This guy, he's a phenomenal race car driver. He's won in a 410 sprint car. He's won in all sorts of forms of racing. But for him to come over here, we know the Trackhouse cars can be fast, and it's a new track. Nobody has any info for this track. So I think it's the perfect storm for him to come over here and win this race. And he drove. I watched people pass him, and I watched him as soon as they got position on him. I saw him let these guys go. He ran a very smart race, and to put. I think the race at the end with Justin, that was a phenomenal battle too between him and Justin. That was to make the passes they were making and getting off in the wet, diving. I didn't think they were both making turn 4 when they were doing that. So to watch those two guys, and for shout out to Justin for being up there duking it out with this guy. So I'm not surprised by this one bit at all. Another reference for this is we have another V8 supercar driver, part-time guy, Owen Kelly. I don't know if you remember Owen. Freddie does probably. He come over here and drove the KBM or the Joe Gibbs Racing cars, Xfinity Busch cars, Xfinity cars, and he was very competitive, like top 5. And he was not a prominent V8 supercar guy, like not even a full-time guy. And he would run top 5. And I think those guys, it just fits their wheelhouse. These guys will not come over here and repeat that stuff on an oval. They can adapt. Some of them can get good at it, I'm sure. But I don't think even looking at AJ yesterday, where did AJ run most of the day? Right inside the top
He,
10
he
ish.
was right around 8th to 10th. Yeah, he wasn't
Yeah,
anywhere near as good as I thought he was going to be.
yeah, and I'm telling you, man, things lined up perfectly for Shane. Fast car, new track, wet course, and the guy's a phenomenal race car driver. So I am not surprised by this at all. I don't think he goes to an oval though and has the same success, or I don't think he goes to Watkins Glen and just dominates like he did today. Like I think his 3 fastest. Someone said his 3 best laps were still 2.5 tenths better than third or second places or anyone else the rest of the day. His best lap. So the guy obviously does this for a living over there. I mean, you look up his highlights, you're going to see tons of street course wins, tons of road course wins. So this is right in his wheelhouse. So congrats to Justin Marks for getting this done and getting this guy in the car. But this isn't. Our guys are mainly oval guys. We've added some road courses in there, and we do say our guys have gotten really good at road course stuff over the years. I mean, we used to talk about the ringers coming in. You don't have ringers coming in anymore like this. I do think this is more of a one-off thing, but I mean it's definitely tough. But he definitely did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, spot on. How do you argue with him right now? But to TJ's point, I think this just lended itself perfectly to him. It's a track our guys are not familiar with. It's a track he is familiar with. It's a car that he is. It's almost a slowed down version of what he races. I don't know that he is this. I think he runs well if we go to Watkins Glen tomorrow, but I don't know that he wins the race and is as dom. He was dominant all weekend. I felt like he was the fastest car in practice. He was probably going to sit on the pole if he had not committed to running one lap when them other guys ran two. And he ran top three majority of the race before that pit strategy deal played out. I don't know that he goes to Sonoma and does that. I don't know that he goes to Watkins Glen and is that much better than everybody because of the amount of laps our guys have at those racetracks. I think this was just a perfect storm for him, and this was a great move by Justin and his guys to put him in this race. Obviously, it paid off. This is his wheelhouse. This is what he races. He races street courses. He runs these kind of cars, and he looked like he was more adaptable to that facility than our guys were yesterday. He never. I don't remember any point of him making a mistake yesterday. All the guys that were fast from the Cup side, Danny Hamlin on the pole makes a mistake on the second or third lap, whatever it was. Tyler, super fast, makes a mistake, drives off into the barrier. The 20 drives off in the barrier. Martin hit the lottery he hit everything yesterday. The guys that were really fast still made mistakes. He never got out of line, it seemed like, except for maybe when he was battling Justin. I mean, they had a flawless weekend, and it's hard to argue with him if he would have told if you had 10 Trackhouse cars yesterday and the top 10 guys came over here from the Supercar series, they probably would have took up half the top 10, I would assume, at least. So
This was me. This was me fanboying out after the race, Freddie. But the race is over, and I'm pulling for Justin as hard as I can. I'm throwing shit at the TV, and I literally said, "Man, I hope this guy fails tech." If you're sitting there at the track and you've put in all these gutless hours, you perceive the race differently than if you're sitting at home having a cocktail. And I was like, man, I hope Justin takes his ass out if he passes it. And then Justin made that crossover, and I'm like, get him. And then the guy cleared him again. And I'm like, all right, put him in the barriers. We need a win right here, boys. And he didn't do it. And after the race, I was like, well, maybe he'll fail tech. Like, I was still pulling for my guy. That's the thing that was fun down here in Myrtle Beach.
But I will say, on the other side of it, I mean, this is a huge success for Justin, and it shows that other teams can really do the same. I mean, we'll talk about this in a little bit as well, but NASCAR is trying to expand globally, and this just shows that Justin bringing somebody from another sport to have success there and to show that his team is really one of the best of the best right now. Like, this is a no-brainer for any team owner in my eyes. I think
Justin Marks, Justin Marks looks more and more brilliant every single day that he's an owner. Like, the things that he's doing, he's innovative on the marketing and business side, obviously on the competition side. They're better right now. Hell, they were better last year than, in my mind, Chip Ganassi Racing ever was in terms of being a part of the conversation all year. Yeah, I know Kyle Larson had 1 year where he won 5 races in Ganassi stuff, but I mean, they're sitting here already with 2 wins from 2 of their cars, and obviously Daniel could win anywhere. So Justin Marks looks like a genius right now.
I think it just shows what the future of the sport is as well. And on that topic, Steve O'Donnell says NASCAR can take the Cup Series anywhere we want. The race we put on today would sell and be embraced globally. Freddie.
Listen, spot on. I think it's a bold statement to say we can go anywhere, because there's obviously some places that probably don't want us, a little bit like we saw this weekend, I think. But I agree that seeing what we did this weekend, obviously it's very expensive, to Brett's point from earlier, but we could take this anywhere, and essentially, obviously, I have no issues. I had reservations about the street course going in, but seeing the product that it created and how challenging it was for our drivers, I have no issue with it. I think that was a great race, and we've cried on here for years that we want these guys to be challenged. We want to see these guys in a position where they make mistakes again, and they were making them yesterday. So we just have to get to somewhere where I feel like we are the ones in control of the show. I felt like at times this weekend we were kind of along for the ride, and we were not on our own plan. We were kind of being told what to do versus, we've already had our reservations with NASCAR ourselves on here about NASCAR not keeping us in the loop of what's going on and during rain delays or whatnot. But this felt like NASCAR didn't know what was going on, on top of us not knowing. So I'm all for going anywhere in the world at this point, and if we can build a street course anywhere, if we run around the damn Eiffel Tower if we have to right now, I'm good with it because this event up until that rainstorm on Friday or that lightning storm on Saturday, I should say, this was a home run out of a grand slam out of the park, and obviously it got diminished with the rain and what went on after that. But I'm all for taking it across the world at this point.
I think we knew this when we left LA Coliseum last year, and I think it's awesome for Steve to come out and say this. I wish, Casey, we were in a perspective where it puts a lot of pressure on the tracks to put on amazing events every single week, but the reality is it doesn't because the majority of tracks are owned by two entities. Speedway Motorsports, which is obviously Marcus Smith's group, NASCAR, which is obviously the France group, but for him to come out and say publicly, we can do this anywhere, yeah, we can. But where are you going to pull races from to go and do it? Because Road America was easy for them to go in and slide a date away from. It was an independent sitting there on the calendar. And guess who took control back over of that date? NASCAR did. If they want to go to Boston, go. If you want to go to Bahrain, go. You proved it last year at LA, you can do this. You proved it again this year at LA, you can do this. You proved it this week in Chicago, you can do this. But here's the thing. What's stopping somebody else from doing this too now? If you've got the capital, like, is this opening the door? And this is a crazy concept, but is this opening the door for like the live or live golf tour or whatever the hell they call that thing where, a bunch of capital gets raised, you go out there and get a bunch of guys paying a bunch of money. And next thing you know, we've got a challenger with NASCAR. And I realize NASCAR has its own proprietary rights to things, but knowing that we can do this anywhere is a great thing, but does it mean that we're going to have some competition?
Yeah, I think this definitely opens the door to pretty much everything now. I think like I said before, I think the vibe was great, and I think we can continue this momentum. If they do want to carry it other places, I think it'd be cool to have a like one of them. What's the street course they race over Formula One races? Freddie, do you know overseas? Maybe Andrew knows. Like, don't they have
Like
a night race over there?
Monaco.
No, it's like it might be Bahrain or something like that. It's
That is a night
yeah.
race, yeah.
Like I'm I think it'd be awesome to do a weekend with Formula One. I think our drivers obviously we have a different style of racing, and I think it'd be like I've read a lot of comments from Formula One fans saying they haven't watched much NASCAR, but because of this race, and they watched it and saw the cars bounce and saw the drivers handling, throwing the cars around, having their hands full, they said they were NASCAR fans now. So I think it would be cool to go do a doubleheader on a track like that. Um, run with them guys, show the different styles of racing, show how close our guys can run together because Formula One has a tendency to get spread out real far. That's just their style of racing. Who's putting what tires on, when they're stopping for fuel. But honestly, there's very minimal passing in the race, but that's okay. That's their style of racing. It's more about, well, this McLaren has a new underbody this week. How much faster are they going to be, or something like that, which is great. But I think it'd be cool to show people overseas what our style of racing can be as well.
So, on that note, we talk a lot about how, Chicago obviously didn't embrace the race, didn't support us being there. With now that this is done and we see what a success it is, minus the racing or minus the rain part, Formula One has had a ton of support from places like Vegas and Miami. But they've also seen that it works before. Do you think that now more cities will want to support financially us coming to their area, bringing race, bringing a new market? Do you see that happening?
I do. I honestly do. I think it was a home run for what it can do for a city. And I know, like I told you earlier, Brett wasn't there, but the vibe around the city from people that lived there, man, they were genuinely excited, and they loved it. And I never heard a complaint, oh, the cars are too loud, any of that stuff. It was just the vibe around the whole event. And then the racing the guys put on a great show, and I think the door is wide open.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I know y'all are probably putting together your vacation plans planning your next tailgate at the track, or just looking to upgrade some things around the house. Our new sponsor, MoneyLion, the all-in-one mobile finance app, has been part of the racing community for years and is dedicated to helping people like you take control of your money and make good things happen. With MoneyLion, you can borrow, save, invest, and earn money all in one place.
Here's the best part, Brett. They want to chip in with a little something to get you started. That's right, easy money, people. Download the Moneyline app today, and when you open your account, use the promo code $DirtyMo. Then just set up direct deposit to earn up to $55. How awesome is that? That's promo code $DirtyMo and get up to $55.
With the MoneyLion app, you're one step closer to getting your financial future on the right path. Visit moneylion.com/hotpass for more information.
All right, let's move on to the DBCA main where we catch up on all things dirt. And I guess we could take a little bit of a different spin. Obviously, SVG having dirt experience, having other forms of racing experience, and we talk a lot about on the broadcast yesterday how guys like Larson and Christopher and even Reddick had the advantage because they came from that dirt racing. Who would you guys like to see take over one of the cars or run a straight race in the future from the dirt world?
Yeah,
I'd go
I
with
mean,
Donnie Schatz. That'd be my first shot. Sorry I jumped you, Freddie, but I didn't
you
want
get
somebody else to take my pick. I grew up going to Lancaster Motor Speedway, Chester Motor Speedway, and they would run every now and then a huge race. And if you won that race, and again, we're talking 1982, 1983, it gave you an opportunity to go make a Busch Grand
Damn, you're
National Series
old.
start. So I know I am old, but I would love to see Donnie Schatz, and I don't just mean come in and run a race because I don't think everybody can show up and win like this Shane guy did, right? So I would love to see Schatz get an opportunity to run an Xfinity car or a Cup car full time for a solid year. That would be heaven on earth for me. Huge props to what he does in a race car.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. You know, you talk about Shane van Gisbergen. I don't even know how to say it. I have no idea.
Van Hamburger.
I was. The funny thing was, I was jokingly calling him the wrong name for like the last. I was cheering my. By the way, I was cheering my guts out for this guy because I needed him to win to keep us in the playoffs. We need. I
Thank
need.
you.
We're 15th. Oh yeah. By the way, you're welcome. But we were, we're 15th in the cutoff line. So I'm watching the end of this race. And, there's only one spot buffer behind us, and literally the entire top 10 at the end of that race was like there was like two guys that had a win, and I'm like, oh, like this is not going to go well for us. So now I'm calling this guy every name in the book, like cheering for him. I was Rosenbagger and all this stuff from the old Rookie of the Year there. But an interesting point with him is like he races in Australia from New Zealand. A lot of our drivers go over to New Zealand. The dirt guys that you're familiar with, whether it's Christopher, Kyle, Sunshine. There's a lot of popular dirt guys that go over. Brad, they'll go over in the off season around December, January to New Zealand and race against their dirt guys. As far as and the guy James McFadden is actually from, I think he's Australian, and he came over and he's full time with the Outlaws. You watch him every week, super fast. I mean, super funny guy. Can drink a beer faster than most. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know that they would translate as well. You'd like to see anybody. I would like to see my friends get shot. I'd like to see Sunshine get in some form of a NASCAR, whether it's Cup or truck or something like that. Wyndham, we put him, and he's stuck. He ran a Cup race at Bristol a couple years ago. Didn't really get off to the best start there. But it's hard to say. Obviously, Brad is at the top of his game right now. David Gravel's another one that's obviously very talented. So pretty much, I just like to see anybody get an opportunity in anything that's kind of out of their normal realm of racing.
TJ.
I think if I had to pick somebody coming up through the dirt ranks, I think I would probably pick probably Logan Seavey. I think he has a lot of driving ability and talent. I think obviously we've seen guys like Gravel came in, and I think he tried to run Michigan in the trucks, and I think it was a whole different experience than that's a tough place to go in with a truck and to learn air. I mean, if there's a track that's really aero dependent in the truck, especially when someone's on your door in the corner, that's tough. So, and Brad was in Xfinity cars for a little while, but I think I think Brad Sweet's the next Donnie Schatz of the world of outlaws. I mean, he is. I don't know how many championships has he got already. 7, 6, 7, maybe something like
I
that.
don't know, but between you and Freddie, y'all named every dirt racer in America. I don't
That's a
think
good
there's any
Well,
left that
one.
aren't going to get a fucking shot at this point.
how do you know? You don't know any dirt stuff.
All right. Well, don't forget to catch us on Dirt
Hey,
Vision.
I gotta before we go on, I love TJ's pick, by the way. Logan is super talented race car driver. He's across all. I think he's competing for the Silver Crown Championship this year, which is dirt and asphalt combined. But I have a great Logan Seavey story. We ended up running into them guys in Cabo this off season on our vacation, and we all were hanging out at a bar, and I don't know exactly what happened. I think they might have bought a bottle of Tito's, or I don't know if we had bottle service or something. But Logan ended up with a bottle of Tito's, and I don't know if you know Logan, but he's all of about 4'8" and 100 pounds soaking wet. And he was walking behind me with this bottle of Tito's, and we're leaving one bar going to the other one. And he said, "What should I do with this bottle of Tito's?" And I jokingly said, "I don't know, just stick it in your pants." There's no way he was going to be able to stick the bottle of Tito's in his pants. So I just walk out. We walk across the street to the next bar, and here comes Logan into the next bar with a bottle of Tito's, and I'm talking a fifth of Tito's in his pants.
Wow.
And I'm like, they just no, there's no way nobody saw that. Like, it's incredible. But he was an awesome dude. He actually won the
Logan,
Chili
are you
Bowl this
happy to
year.
see me, or is that a fifth of Tito's?
I mean, it would have been pretty impressive. But yeah, but no, Logan's an awesome kid and a super talented race car driver. Won the Chili Bowl and Swindell stuff this year. So that was awesome to see. But yeah, that was the first time I met Logan or spoke to Logan really, and then we got off on the right foot when you're smuggling Tito's around Mexico, which probably wasn't a good idea. He probably was in jeopardy of a long prison sentence or something down there. Who
That's
knows?
not the
But
place
yeah.
I would probably risk that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, don't forget to catch us on Dirt Vision this Wednesday, and tons of other content, past races, future races. Check out Dirt Vision. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's move on to Reaction Theater, where this week we actually have a guest joining us live. Brett, you want to intro him?
Yeah, so I had an idea about a month ago. I don't know if me and Freddie were sitting around talking about it, or me and TJ, or what, but I was like, man, I really want to get a fan's perspective of the Chicago street course live on the show. And then about a week or so ago, I had another idea. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get this person hot passes for the weekend. I'm going to hook them up with all access inside. Now, you're not allowed to go in the suites with these passes, but you're allowed to tool around in the garage on pit road and all those things. So I threw up this fun little giveaway on Twitter. Next thing you know, Ross Olson wins it. Totally random that he wins it. I send him a message because if he doesn't accept it, I'm going to go to the next person. And I was like, hey, Ross, man, would you want this package? And he texts me back, if you haven't already given it away, then the answer is yes. And I'm like, no, you're the guy. Like, you're the one that's going to win this thing if you want it. And Ross is like, man, I'm a longtime Elliott Sadler fan. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm going to go. I'm going to take my wife. So, Ross, man, welcome to the most honest podcast in all of NASCAR, DBC. What's up?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity that you gave me to join you today, and obviously the tickets this weekend. We've had a blast so far. It's really been great.
Well, tell us about that, man. I want you to take me through your day, whatever day you got there. What was your first day at the track, Friday or Saturday?
Saturday, we got in Friday night. I live in Iowa, so we drove over Friday night. Actually, staying in a hotel. I'm right now looking right across the window here to the Grant Park. I could see there's still water standing in the concert area, so I'm not sure if I'd want to be standing out there, Brett. I know you said people should be out there, but I'm not sure I would have been. But yeah, went over the track on Saturday morning, and it was cool. I mean, I did a lot of investigation before I got up here to see how we work through a road course. I'd never been to a road course. I go to about 5 or 6 races a year. I have a son that lives in Charlotte, so I'm always down at the Charlotte races every year, and we go to Bristol, we go to Martinsville, go to Kansas. But so I love NASCAR. I'd never been to a road course, so I didn't really know what it was going to be like. So I did a lot of investigation, like where I'm going to be able to see. Yeah, you're right. I didn't get access to the suites. I certainly tried. I said, this says VIP on it. I should be able to get in, right? And they're like, no, sorry about that. But No, it's cool. We got in Saturday morning, a walk through the garage. It was awesome. I mean, the garage is on the street, right, just under some tents, and a little bit different garage than normal. But the whole vibe Saturday was awesome. I mean, watching the practice and qualifying, went to various areas of the track. The place we really ended up liking was Turn 8. They kind of, I know a couple accidents right there in Turn 8. There was some TV screens we could see. Went over to the Black Crowes concert, so it was still a perfect day at that time. So saw that concert, and then was heading back to watch the Xfinity race, and then as you guys talked about, things kind of went haywire from there. And yesterday, I didn't expect the crowd that was there yesterday. I was sitting in my hotel room. Like I said, I can see the whole track right from my room right here, and we didn't leave until about 20 minutes before they said drivers to the cars. So I thought there's going to be nobody there, and it was unbelievable how many people still came Sunday, and the vibe around the place. So they put some tarping over some fences to kind of block the view as you're walking down Michigan Avenue. So like people from the outside couldn't look in. Well, on Saturday, those all got ripped down. So people were just standing. I mean, they were 5 or 6 deep on Michigan Avenue trying to look.
So wait a minute now. So wait a minute. So fans ripped them down so they'd be able to see?
Yes. So, and I knew that when they were putting them up Saturday, they were still putting them up Saturday morning as we walked to the track, and they put them on the Michigan or on the sidewalk side. And I said, somebody's going to rip them down. I said that to my wife as we're walking there, and that's exactly what they did. Sunday, they put the tarps on the other side. So they actually ended up putting new tarps up yesterday, but they put them on the other side of the fencing that was there, which was certainly the smarter move. But there were still a couple spots that they didn't have tarp, that there were people lined up, sitting up on electric boxes, and I mean, it was an unbelievable vibe. The weather obviously turned it pretty bad yesterday, but I gotta think that it brought in, I know you've said 80% of the people were first time NASCAR fans, but and that's true. I mean, I didn't, a normal race you're going to see.
I want to ask you something around that real quick though, Ross. Yep. So you mentioned, and Casey mentioned 80% of the people are first-time NASCAR fans. That tells me that those people probably are not traveling into Chicago for this race. That tells me that, Chicago is the 3rd largest city in America. That tells me that the city of Chicago, the people there, were willing to come out and support this race. So how expensive are hotel rooms for you?
I think the hotel room here was like $250 a night. The biggest
That's
problem,
nothing. That's cheap.
That's not bad. I mean, you're going to pay that. You go to Bristol and Martinsville or wherever you're going to try and get a hotel. A big problem in Chicago is parking, and we're paying $70 a night to park our car here. So it's not cheap parking, but obviously, I wasn't planning on coming because of the price of the tickets. I mean, the general admission tickets were $269 per person. I think if you had general admission, if you just want to come, and I know that we talked to some people that said, I only bought tickets because I wanted to go see the Chainsmokers. Well, they just completely lost out. I don't think there's going to be a refunds. I haven't heard that. Maybe there'll be something. But so that's what I worry a little bit about, is with no weather guarantees, will people buy these again next year if they're the same price? Because they're like, I'm not going to take a chance of weather being bad and we'd miss out on the concerts, because I believe that a lot of people were here, certainly the experience to see NASCAR, but the concerts certainly drew a lot of people in, I think.
So you got to stay close. You're a short walk to the venue. What was your favorite part of the weekend as a fan with the access you had?
Oh, favorite part was walking down pit road. I mean, we're right there. I mean, we're jumping out of the way. The guys are moving tires now. We're right behind the pit road. I mean, the access. So you hear some crew members complaining about the room there. There was not much room. I mean, pit road seemed really wide, like the road itself. I probably, behind pit road. I don't know if TJ and Freddie had comments from any of their guys, but there wasn't a lot of room, and fans are trying to walk there. So there wasn't a lot of room. It was cool. It was actually cool to be down there and be that close to it. Really enjoyed that. Enjoyed walking through the garage. But it was tight. It was real tight there. I assume that's tighter than most places that you all go. So
last thing for me is, you're obviously a bigger fan than I even knew you were when you won. I didn't know you went to 5 or 6 races a year. When you're an Elliott Sadler fan, that means you've been around about as long as I have, which is a long time.
Yeah.
What's one thing you would like to see us do if we go back to Chicago from a fan experience standpoint? What's one thing we could do to make it better for you guys?
I think they need to put some more TV screens around. I mean, we found a good spot that at a road course, you have to be able to see the TV. I mean, we have headphones. I listen to spotters. I listen to MRN and so forth. But They need to have more screens around. I really thought in the Grant Park area there'd be screens everywhere. So I don't know how many people got to be able to see, because you got to be able to, at a road course. Again, I want to see the whole track. That's why I like ovals. I prefer that. So I think you got to have, and I think it's got to be more cost effective. I mean, that's pricey for folks to pay, I think. So I think if they could bring the prices down a little bit in Chicago, but I didn't get this hotel room. I won the ticket from you a week ago or something. And first thing I did is, where can I get a hotel? We're Hilton members. So I found a Hilton Chicago right across the street, and they still had rooms, which is remarkable. I thought there'd be no way, or they'd be $500 a night. So I was shocked at that.
And I think that's the good sign. I think it's the sign of, listen, we're always chasing a new fan. Sometimes I say we're chasing a ghost. In this instance, I don't think that's the case. Casey obviously works on the sponsorship side too. That's why I want to bring you on here, just to hear from your perspective. How great was it, or how good was it, or how bad was it, man? It sounds like, Casey, you had a good time.
I mean, if I were the guest next year, I think there'll be a few more sponsors trying to sign up and bring more back.
Ross, where was your favorite place to watch from?
Turn 8. We sat in turn 8 there, so we didn't have, there was reserve seating up there too. We didn't have any reserve seats. So, with our passes, we could kind of walk through the pits and the garage area, but we found a good spot to sit on turn 8, had TV screens, and they came into turn 8. I know it was really tight there. And we saw like Sheldon Creed in qualifying going for that last lap, and he just bombed it into 8 and wrecked his car. But we were sitting right there at that time, so it was really cool to see. But it was a cool spot, 8 coming up, up the hill there, and turn 9. So that was our favorite spot to sit to watch the races.
Well, Ross, we're going to let you jump, man. We got to finish this show up. But one thing I want to say is I had no idea that TJ was going to surprise you with a photo op with Dale Jr. when you jumped on this call. So TJ does not suck everybody as bad as y'all say he does. He provided Ross with a very rare opportunity to visit with Dale Jr. on a Zoom call.
Yeah, that was
How about that surprise?
That was surprising. Yeah, TJ didn't say where he was. I didn't know. Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having fun with the tickets, man. Thanks for jumping on here, and glad you had fun. And certainly, man, listen, I say all the time, I would love to do a live focus group with race fans. This is obviously a small sample of that, but thanks for jumping on, man. Glad you had fun.
You bet. Thank you very much, guys.
What's up, JBC? I just want to say that Shane van Gisbergen is a bloody legend. He is the GOAT. He's been killing it where we are. To see him go over there and kick all the American boys' asses is fucking bloody incredible. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that. Just wanted to say that I love you guys. Brett, you're amazing. Go Gamecocks.
We got a foreigner calling in talking about us, and then he says go Gamecocks. So he won me back over at the end. I love you, buddy. Hey, you come back to America, you come find me. We'll go see a Gamecock game. That's, what we talk about all the time. How do we get new fans? I guess having a New Zealander come in here and kick a bunch of American asses will do it.
NASCAR could probably not be more excited after trying to take this global.
Wow, what a race here at Chicago. I cannot believe that SVG pulled that one out like that. He won by a smaller gap than what is in Brett's teeth.
Where'd he go? He walked away?
That's good. Just move. Hey, that's good.
That was it. Perfect.
Hey.
I figured somebody was going to bash me in this reaction theater call. I didn't know they were going to make fun of my gap between my teeth, but since they're doing that, cheers. I'm going to take a shot at that one.
Chicago Street Course drinking game. Take a drink every time a Team Toyota driver runs out of talent and ruins their race. Take a drink every time
that was a common denominator.
He stumbles over Shane van Gisbergen's name. And lastly, take a drink every time Noah Gragson baconates into the turn 6 tire wall.
Hey, Noah, here's what I can tell you. When I got home last night at 2 in the morning, and I don't always know who's tweeting from Couch Racer, but I figured it out when I got home last night because there was a big bag of Wendy's on an empty bag of Wendy's on my kitchen island that I assume my brother partook in because I'm assuming he had no choice. He's seen the Baconator car so many times buried in the tires in turn 6 that he had no choice but to order him some Wendy's at some point.
Boys, I have my doubts about Chicago. I talk shit.
Is this
Me
Brett?
too.
Race
Brett,
today.
you call in?
I don't want it to be July 4th. I think that belongs in Daytona. But
This is Brett.
I'm not going for race today. I don't want it to be July 4th. I think that belongs
You
in
get so drunk
Daytona.
last night you forgot to call. You
I
forgot
don't know
need
who
to
that
do
guy
that
is, but he's a
again.
genius. Can I get his contact information?
All up.
We're brothers from another mothers, it appears. I bet he likes Fireball too.
Yeah, mimosas did kick in, I guess.
Mimosas are not the way to go.
Not for you.
For me. Love it.
Good calls. Good
Yeah.
calls
That's
this
good.
week. And
I mean,
yeah,
I think
a lot
the
of energy.
consensus was everyone loved watching it. Like, it was a great race. And if they were there, they still had a great time, even though it was monsooning. So, I call it the win. Well, to leave an audio message whenever you'd like, don't forget to call our new number, 704-802-9572. Or you can still go to anchor.fm/DoorPrepperClear. You'll see that message icon, and we will continue to play the best ones each week. Let's move on to Ask DBC. These are questions submitted using hashtag AskDBC, so send in yours, and we'll keep looking for the best ones. First one is from Matt. Great question. Do you have a Project 91 wish list?
I think the obvious answer is Lewis Hamilton. Like, you know, who would not want to see Lewis Hamilton in a NASCAR race ever? Like, who would ever not want to see that? So that's my pick.
I don't. If he's going to dress like a hot air balloon when he gets here, I'm good. If he's going to dress like a normal human, then I would love to see Lewis Hamilton come.
This
I
is
mean,
coming from a
literally,
guy that wears cock Crocs. Just by the way,
he's my favorite personality I've ever met in racing. That I was dumb enough to not get my picture made with him. We were in Nashville and he come rolling in, and seems like a great dude. Bubba was making fun of me in L.A. last year when I rolled out of my hotel wearing my Lewis Hamilton T-shirt. I got a Mercedes hat I wear and everything in this guy's honor. So, Freddie, I couldn't agree with you more. I would do whatever it takes to get Lewis Hamilton to the sport if there was anything I could do. Unfortunately, I don't think us chipping in or starting to GoFundMe is really going to matter.
TJ?
I mean, I've preached it before, but I would like to see Scott McLaughlin, who also came from the V8 Supercars a couple years ago, been in IndyCars, won some races there. I think he would be phenomenal in a Cup car and an Xfinity car. I think he'd be road courses especially, but yeah, I'd like to see him get in there.
I would love to see Daniel Ricciardo because I really just want him to be on our show. I think I've asked you, Andrew, 20.
You must think he's hot.
He is very hot, and I think he's awesome. So
Oh,
I don't care. Like, come run a race or don't run a race. Just come on the show, and we'll be good. Justin, make it happen, or Andrew and Dale, make it happen. And this next one is from one of our favorites, Kevin from VA. And from your point of view, how were the fan reactions in your area? And do you have any suggestions for improving spotter locations? TJ.
Fan reactions were off the charts all around. New fans there, the buzz around the area. Ran into people in the elevator last night. Just super pumped, excited. Had a great time. And I mean, yeah, I don't think there's much I would change. I mean, maybe some TVs, some more TVs, like Ross said.
yeah. I thought, like I said, the fan reaction. I saw more phones out recording this week than I've ever seen before in my life. Every fan was clamoring to get over our shoulders or at the start finish line getting yelled at by security, just trying to get pictures and videos of anything they could really. As far as spotter locations, we had the best spotter location I've ever had in my entire life this weekend.
That must have mean you had shade. Did you have shade?
We had shade. We had drinks.
Don't tell him. Stop. Just we didn't have anything. We were in the sun, sweating and getting rained on.
Yeah. On a serious note, though, shout out to the staff of that President's Paddocks Club. They were phenomenal. They were making sure all the spotters had water, bringing water over to the spotter railing when we could have easily just walked over to the bar ourselves and got it. Bringing food out to the guys when they had a chance. The 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 service up there was second to none, and that's not just for us. That was across the board of everybody that was up there. Everybody in that whole area seemed like they had a great time. I thought the turn 11 spotter stand, I went up there. It seemed like you could see a good bit of the racetrack. There's obviously some blind spots, and we ended up using 5 spotters throughout, 4 plus me, throughout the weekend, just kind of scattered all over the place. But the 3, designated spots, the only one that was probably not great was the turn 4 bus stop, the on top of the buses, I should say. But it's hard to say where they should have done there. They could have maybe built some scaffolding or something, but I thought that was an interesting take, and stick them up there, and they didn't have a great angle. They were obviously pretty low to the ground because they're on top of a bus, so the cars were kind of right on top of them before they could actually start spotting. But I mean, we're learning as we go. We don't know, and just to have an area where there were spotters designated over there was great. So there's nothing really to complain about spotter wise. You knew it was going to be a challenge. You knew that you're not going to be able to see a lot just the way the track's laid out, and we'll make improvements from there. But I thought everything was top notch from our side of things this weekend.
Brett, from a broadcast perspective, any suggestions there?
I'm going to tell you something, Casey. I'm glad you asked me that question. It's like you and I rehearsed this, even though we did not, because we don't speak unless we're on the show. I'm just kidding. To be quite honest with you, if Mike Bagley doesn't have a TV offer by the end of the week to be full-time on Fox or NBC by the end of the week, it will be a full-blown travesty. He did a phenomenal job of being a color guy. He showed that even at an oval, we can have a turn reporter, just like we can have a pit reporter. I think Mike Bagley deserves a TV offer to be full-time to represent the sport on the biggest stage, on the biggest channels. And man, what a phenomenal, I see Andrew nodding his head like, what a phenomenal job this guy did for television. He was awesome. He was the star of the show. And I know that Dale Jr. is somewhere in TJ's house right now. And I hope he can't hear me say this because he's already got on here and fussed at me before we even started this show. But at the end of the day, Mike Bagley was a stud. Poetic enthusiasm. I'm telling you, man, I had an absolute blast all weekend listening to him. I really did.
And I was, listening even to Sirius and the broadcast, how they did that radio format. It worked out really well for the challenges that they faced. I think Dale might have had some problems at the start with their recording or their connection, but I mean, just they made it so seamless when it comes to how they switched from one side to the other, and just having that track be so huge, and a lot of first-time viewers and a lot of people who were at the track for the first time, they made it easy for us to follow when we weren't there.
Sam Flood, go hire him.
I think there was an app for cameras around the racetrack, wasn't there? Was there anything like that, Andrew? I thought I saw something like that at one point for the street course only, but you had to be there or it didn't work. I'm not sure.
Maybe the app does have that as an option.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
If it exists, that's a great idea.
I think, to reiterate what Freddie said, thanks to staff, everyone up there at the track. We took great care of us. The area we were was phenomenal. Jolie put it together, and Beth, and just great job all together. I've said it earlier, but I think NASCAR did a phenomenal job with it.
I'm gonna stop you there for a second, TJ, because I think it's important for us to recognize some NASCAR people right here, because it used to be that we were told literally in every spotter meeting, every time we saw someone on the spotter stand, like, stay out of the suites, stay out of the fan area, stay out of this. Like the old regime of NASCAR wanted us, not necessarily hidden, but they didn't always make us feel welcomed. We didn't have parking passes. We didn't have restrooms on roofs. And the new NASCAR is the exact opposite. I'll never forget, man, I got called into the hauler years ago, and literally the question was asked, why were you in a suite? And I said, because it's my suite. I'm the one hosting these people. I'm the one who brought City Financial to the series that they're in right now. And the response that I got from the NASCAR official back then was, well, why don't you let us know everywhere you're going to have a suite so that we know when you're going to be in the suites. And I'm thinking, absolutely not. You can kiss my ass. I'm not telling you when I'm going to be anywhere. And the exact opposite is what's going on now is fans enjoy seeing spotters. And, it's really cool for us to be more accepted. And I say that, and you guys are probably thinking, man, you're crazy. You've always been accepted. I'm telling you right now, we were not always accepted. It's really cool that the ownership and the executives now understand that spotters are part of the process and part of the competition side, and fans actually enjoy that. So, TJ, I think you're bringing up a good point. The fact that you were all hosted so well speaks volumes to the current leadership versus where we were even 10 years ago. Like, I'm not talking that long ago, Freddie, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, I had a long conversation with Julie on Saturday, and she said that people, some of the people were giving her a hard time because she was taking such good care of us. Like that was one of her main concerns, is making sure all the spotters, not just us, but all the spotter locations were taken care of. They had to organize, and from my understanding, they paid a bunch of money to have spotters on
Symphony
top of that
Hall.
Symphony Hall. That was a location that they had to pay for to give us the vantage point that was necessary to get through that set of corners. So to your point, and like I swear to God, I've never seen anything like it. Where I turned around one time and the night I wish I could have got her name. I never got it. Maybe TJ did, but there was one in particular young lady that literally was like, just before the fans really rolled in, she was really taking care of us. And I turned around one time and she had an entire tray of cheeseburgers, handing them to Earl. So
I'm going next year.
so but just above and beyond, they went. We had kind of our own personal bath porta johns over there. It was just, and you could tell that, to your point, like they asked us to make sure we were identifiable to the fans. Wear team branded stuff so that the fans knew who we were, what teams we were with. I took multiple pictures with DBC fans. I looked up there one day and there's a really pretty intoxicated individual wandering around, and just so happened he, of course, had a Couch Racer shirt on. So it's it was just nice to be up in there and hanging out with everybody, and just getting a chance to talk with fans. I know I seen TJ talking to some fans kind of right before the race started yesterday. It's an awesome experience for us and hopefully them too.
Yeah, where we were in the top corner there, obviously, but they could come up to us, and that was, they could get right there to our area, which made it nice. And to have there was a lot of questions. Like, people asked a lot of questions. They were new race fans, which was cool. So, but like, to Brett, what Brett was bringing up, I think people that have worked hard on this are Julie and Tim Berman, even Ben. All them people, man, need to get a lot of credit for the show that got put together.
I mean, they started from scratch. Like, I know there were a lot of issues when it came to the rain, but like, this is a major city, and there are a lot of issues in a normal city. Add a racetrack to it, and to have such great feedback from it, even on the sponsor side.
Brett's not going to like this, but Chicago let us come in there and do this, and to create the vibe that it did. I think we need to thank the city of Chicago for working with NASCAR and letting them come in there and do this.
It's not that I don't like it; it's we paid for it, and I would like to have that reciprocated on the other side, because this could be great, and it can be great. The leaders just have to get it together, and I think they will. If they don't have us back next year, it makes me even more right, and I don't want to be more wrong.
I don't either. On that note, though, looking at all of the cities and opportunities this leads to, where would you guys like to go?
I know that there's Denver's been mentioned in the past, and that's a fairly big market. Obviously, New York City is where I kind of grew up. I grew up 30, 40 minutes from there. Again, another city that's probably hard to work with, and probably will. I want to go anywhere that we're wanted. essentially. Anyone, if they want us there, we would love to go there. I think, and we saw yesterday that we bring value, or this weekend we bring value to the area. We can put on a great show. We bring tons of people. We bring enthusiastic fans. We didn't have any issues. It seemed like it went smoothly on the fan side of things. It's just I'm willing to go any big city in this country where we're wanted.
TJ.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Brett.
If I'm picking, it's Boston or it's San Diego, and I know those are opposite ends of the world from where we live, right? But man, I think those two cities are phenomenal. I've been to San Diego many times and always had a great experience in that city, and I've been to Boston many times and always had a great experience in that city. So again, to Freddie's point and to what I've been on my soapbox about, I want to go somewhere that we get embraced, we get welcomed, and we know before we get there that we're wanted back.
I mean, we could add to this list all day here. Long Beach, New York, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Nashville Street Course. I mean, there's the sky's the limit right now for me. I mean, but obviously, like there's been talks of some, bigger market like Denver. I don't know, but like any of these places, man. I mean, I think this opens the door for a lot of really cool stuff.
There are a lot of interviews. I think I heard this one on Sirius, but Chase and a few other drivers mentioned that they feel as though the Coliseum might have run its course. Brett, you mentioned it earlier. Do you think now that we know a street course is a success, that this becomes a non-point race in another city, or is that an opportunity that maybe we can look at in the future?
I sure hope not. I hope they're meaningful.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Listen, people. I am in the event business, and when I build an event, Casey, as are you. Like I'm building an event in a 25,000, 35,000 square foot building, and I know how much work goes into that. These folks in NASCAR, obviously with help from a lot of different vendors and supplier partners, built this event, as you said, from the ground up in a freaking however many mile radius. Like what the undertaking that they pulled off is unreal. This is the hardest I've ever seen NASCAR work to do. Like I said earlier, one race. It's the most money they've ever spent to do one race. So we can't do that and it not be paying points, paying big money for the teams. Like I think it needs to be impactful and meaningful. And I think the only way to really do that is to do it in a point paying big way. And to your point, like I'm not a big exhibition race fan anymore, like I probably used to be, because a lot of the heritage of the All-Star race or the Winston we used to call it's gone, and the Clash is different. I mean, it used to be you had to qualify by being a pole winner, and now there's all these other things about you made the playoff, and so like I think the exhibition race needs to be kept kind of like it was in LA, kept small but in a big market, and in a way that we can get a lot of new eyeballs on our sport for a couple days times. But no, man, if we're going to go spend $40 million or whatever they spent this weekend, it's got to pay points, right, TJ?
Oh, we can't run a road course of that magnitude and it not be an official point paying race.
We talked obviously about Julie and Tim and all the hard work. I think overlooked in this is the role that iRacing played. I mean, iRacing, Steve Myers and his group, they're essentially ones that laid this track out. They went there and kind of scanned this deal and developed a track for us to race on. So they played a huge role in this, and they deserve some of the credit as well.
Agreed.
Thanks, TJ.
Let's move on to What an Idiot. Who you guys got?
Oh,
I think we just let
Ready?
Brett go first.
yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Mine's actually really easy because I looked at this from it changed the outcome of the race, and I was not a fan of it at all. Whoever did the lineup, whoever approved setting the lineup after the 24 wreck, that's my what an idiot. Like, there's no way those cars that caused the wreck, blocked the track, and everything else should have been allowed, to TJ's point earlier in the show, retain their position. And I hope when they have their Tuesday morning debrief that they figure out that this was a major, major screw up. My second what an idiot is whoever let Kip leave NASCAR.
Okay.
Kip is one of my favorite people in the garage. He's a highly respected official. He's a guy that Freddie and TJ and I could always go talk to, no matter if we were going to praise somebody or whatever. So, man, I hate to see Kip leave, but congratulations to him on what's next in his career. I'm going to miss seeing him in that freaking garage. I can tell you that.
I was gonna save that till the end, but that is not my one idiot. But I do agree that
I think he's an idiot. Who the hell are we going to talk to now? Maybe we should
maybe
Casey, you haven't what an idiot?
he's gonna put up with
What do
you and get
What
you
do
out
you
of
think
trouble.
he's doing next week? Maybe we get him on DVC next
We
week.
should.
I know a
But, hey,
guy.
congrats to Kip. They did just announce. We kind of knew this going in, but they did just announce he is now the executive director of the Cars Tour, which is an awesome get for them guys. I met Kip in 2010 probably. I think he was running the K&N series when me and Bubba started working together. And he's, like, to Brett's credit, he's always been somebody that if I had any issue, obviously we had some other avenues to talk to some people in the media side of NASCAR, but if I ever had a competition issue, 90% of the time, Kip would be my first phone call, and normally I would send a text off with a question and immediately get a phone call back with a much longer explanation, or we would just chat about whatever that topic was. So I'm going to miss him. I hope we don't go far. I'm going to have to go to some cars races now, I guess, but yeah, we're definitely going to miss him.
Kip also is a guy who told us on Sunday mornings that we had to pee. So I'm not going to miss
Yes.
that part of hearing from him. When he would text me on Sunday morning, and he would literally say, because he knows my lenient schedule some Sundays, Brett, where are you? And I'll be like, I got to pee today. This sucks. Kip, I can't get there in time. He's like, you got to pee before 11 a.m. So, Kip, I will not miss that part of your text messages.
I will miss his text after you guys say something dumb on the show, where he'll group text us and say what we're.
Those aren't gonna stop.
I really hope not. TJ,
Definitely
who's your
won't.
idiot?
I do have a lot of choices, but I think I'm going to go with the most popular one, the guy that trended twice on Twitter this week, Brett. That was awesome. Good work.
Mine last week. Yeah. Fair.
I luckily went to sleep early I don't know what night the first night was. I went to bed and woke up to about 10 text messages. You know your boy's trending on Twitter? And I was like, I don't even want to look. I said,
I didn't know until Freddie told me. Freddie told me, he's like, yeah, he's trending on Twitter. I'm like, oh, no.
Somebody tweeted, like, you better get him in line. And I was like, I mean, if I
Yeah,
could have
good
done
luck.
that, I would have done it years ago. But what about the guy who decided to
Get on the
drive his
track?
car
Yeah.
on the
That
track?
was my next guy.
So he was the entire cast of Fast and the Furious 27 that tried to break onto the racetrack on Saturday night. I don't know. I seen a picture of one car on the track. Then I read there was reports of 20 vehicles out there, which in my mind I was picturing 20 Lime scooters going down the back straightaway with drunken idiots on them.
That's what a hero. Like who doesn't want to get on a legit NASCAR street course and get to rock your McLaren around there, or your Honda Civic, or your Ford Pinto for that matter? Like if I had an opportunity to move a barricade and sneak on there and try to get. Now obviously he got caught, which that's the bad part of the whole thing. But man, I'm all for this guy. I'll pay half the Scotch fine.
Hey, listen. So my one idiot at the end of the day has to be whoever told these guys it is a felony to jump in the fountain. That was a perfect opportunity. We see this all the time at Monaco. These guys, Ricardo, Casey's boyfriend, diving into the pool in Monaco. That would have been an awesome deal if, you call the race early and we've missed out on the second half of the race. You could have gained a lot of momentum back if you just let Cole Custer go do a swan dive into the fountain. But apparently, it's a damn felony. Of all things in that city, it's a felony to jump.
I don't think he needed to go to the fountain to do that. He could have done it on pit road at that point.
Oh, boy.
All right, well, I have a bone to pick with this next topic because Brett didn't even show up last week, yet he somehow wins DBC picks. Taylor, I told you not to pick SVG.
You guys did not get what was going on here. I don't know if you realize, but I can't have you two winning. So if I can't win, I need Brett to win. And
I wouldn't have won anyways, but seriously.
Fastest guy there.
No.
No. Wait a second.
Freddie and I actually conspired behind the scenes after you didn't acknowledge the tweet or the text message.
You tweeted that you wanted him to wreck. So why would we let you win?
Freddie and I were texting during the whole picking process to make sure that Freddie got Two solid picks. Casey, I'm sorry you suck and you lost, but Freddie and I pulled off.
I
the
mean,
win,
I'm
so.
still doing pretty well.
Who goes
compared to
first?
last-
Who goes first, Andrew, on this next one?
EJ.
Yeah, fresh off the boat.
Hey, Chloe.
Say hi.
What did Chloe just? Was she on the lake? What was she doing?
Yeah, she was on my dad's boat.
Oh,
The boat on the boat.
boat on a boat.
Yep.
All right, we're going
who
to
goes-
Atlanta. They moved this thing to a night race, thank God, because I was there last year. It was brutal in the stands. And I'm not, listen, I want you guys to get home on Sunday night and be able to tuck your kids into bed. In your situation, Freddie, tuck your brother into bed. But obviously, that's not going to happen this week. We're evening racing, night racing in Atlanta. Who's picking first?
Oh, man. I feel like I'm going to go with the 6.
Oh, calling his own shot.
I am. We got close last time, and it's time for redemption.
Who's next?
You.
I'll pick Ty Gibbs.
I'll take Joey Logano.
Joey Logano, Mr. Blocking Guy himself.
Good place to block at.
I had to pull up who I have not picked, and I'll go with Justin Haley. He's coming off a good run. He's a great plate racer, and that's my guy for this weekend.
Man,
I'll cheer like
this.
a rabid redneck 2 weeks in a row.
I tweeted this morning, but I was leaving there. Obviously, Justin, I can't remember if he wrecked in practice or qualifying, and he tore the car up. And and Justin obviously hangs out with us every once in a while, Big Al's, and I've known Justin for a few years, being in the colleague stable over there. And I normally, if I see Justin in the garage, I will either yell something at him or stop and talk and bust his chops about something. He's very easy to pick on, and we have a lot of fun with him. But I saw him. They were when I was leaving after they called the Xfinity race on Saturday night. He was pushing the car out, and you could just see he was very dejected, very kind of just not in a good spot. And it was one of the times where I just kind of gave the old head nod and kept digging, and then just what you could tell he wasn't in a great spot. And I've kind of got that feeling a little bit this year from him. So like as much as I was cheering for the 91 to win yesterday, I was kind of bummed out that he had to pass Justin to do it, but obviously he benefited from the call to shorten the race, and then capitalized on it and came home. I think he finished second, right?
Second, yeah.
But great run for him, and in position to win, really.
Look, man, he's under a lot of pressure. You guys, I've lived this for so many years as a driver, manager, as a spotter, not knowing what your fate's going to be on 1-year deals. And, Justin's not on a 1-year deal, but he's on the end of his contract year. So here it is, July. He doesn't know who he's going to be driving for next year. I know he wants to return to colleague racing. I know they're having conversations about him returning to colleague racing, but it's tough showing up to work, every single day, when in reality, how many races do we have left? I mean, he only knows that he's working 15, 18 more, weekends this year. Man, it's tough to do that. And I don't care if you're a Kyle Busch. You guys saw how Kyle Busch handled it last year. I mean, he was a butthole on pit road to Coach Gibbs on television. He was a butthole to the media. He was under a lot of pressure, and until he got that resolved, now look at him. He's won 3 races. So it's hard to go to work every day when you're showing up with it. And look, Justin's not the only guy out there that's on a 1-year deal, and it's tough. And TJ's been there. He's been at the end of a contract year, not knowing where you're going to be the following year. But it always works out for good people, and it always works out for people that work hard. And Justin is both those things. I think he'll be fine, but it's got to be stressful, right? It's got to be.
Fair. All right, well, thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to like, share, comment. Let us know what you think. I know we all know what you think about Brett, but maybe some better comments on Twitter about the show. And catch us on Dirt Vision this Wednesday. Have a great week.
Everybody enjoy your holiday. Stay safe. Don't play with fireworks.
Don't play with fireworks.
Happy July 4th. Do not play with fireworks if you're drinking, and stay safe. If you're on a boat or on the water this weekend, be careful, because a lot of people out there are first-time boaters and they don't know what they're doing, and it's dangerous. And but it's going to be a fun week. Happy July 4th. Happy birthday, America. I'm glad July's here. It's hot as hell down here at the beach, but we'll have some fun, raise some hell. Thanks to Ross for coming on. Special guest in Reaction Theater. And Casey, make sure you put on sunscreen down there.
Have a good one.
All right.
We out.
See you guys.